this is a day where the PGA Tour, Jay Monahan, who is the head of the PGA Tour, they could not look worse today. They look like the most hypocritical bunch of losers possible. And the thing is, I think it probably could have been avoided by the PGA to look this bad, but they took this real moral high ground when LIV started because it's backed by the Saudi Royal Public Investment Fund, the PIF, if you will. And they were so made the Saudis the center of their argument. This is why guys had to stay loyal to the PGA, and you can't go with the Saudi money. It's dirty money. It's sports washing. It's all of that. And now they look like fools because 15 months later, they're now taking all of that money that they called dirty.
Well, I don't think they had anything else to fight LIV with except the moral high ground because they couldn't compete with them for money.
Right.
So put yourself in their shoes back then in 2022. What were they supposed to say to LIV? I think you're right. Of course, it was completely short-sighted, but their moral preening, as it were, was simply to try and gain a competitive advantage to keep their guys.
And
that's all they had to.
That's gross.
All they had to rely.
That's so gross because you're playing on people's emotions here.
Yeah.
When it comes to Saudi Arabia, when it comes to 9/11, like that's not right. There's one part about sports, I think, where we all expect a little bit of business dirt, a little bit of compromise sometimes on moral values, things like that. How do we watch the NFL? We know it causes head trauma. There's always a little bit of this push and pull. But they leaned into this so heavy about this was the reason why these PGA golfers should not defect and go to LIV. The fact that they're turning around now and joining forces is just gross if they were only using 9/11 basically because they didn't have another card to play.
They didn't have the money.
I mean, but that's so disgusting. Even by sports and professional sports measures, that's disgusting.
No, it is absolutely disgusting. I would argue back a little bit that the other leagues are pretty disgusting. I mean, listen, the second NBA got pushed on China, they hid under a table.
Totally.
The other leagues are also a business, and I don't think any of the other leagues were above what Jay Monahan and the PGA did. I think they all would have said the same thing, and I think they all would have eventually taken the Saudi money. That's the only difference. I think these are very, we actually said today we should have seen this coming, and I guess we probably should have, because at the end of the day, these are businesses. There was rumors that PGA and LIV were gonna merge. It just happened quicker than we thought. So I think we should have seen this company coming because it's just business, and unfortunately that's how kind of business goes.
Well, there was also a court case. I mean, they've been involved in this legal battle that's been going on for a long time. So maybe legally they also did not have a move, the PGA Tour. But I'm not letting them off the hook on this because, I mean, listen, even if it is best for business, there has to be a better way to go about it than this because you wage this public war. Let's listen to a little bit if you're not really sure what we're talking about and just to drive the point home. Here was Jay Monahan, the head of the PGA Tour. This is from June of 2022. This is last year. Sat down with the always amazing Jim Nantz and talked about 9/11, and that's why they needed to fight back against LIV.
I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not know that there are significant implications. As it relates to the families of 9/11, I have two families that are close to me that lost loved ones. And so my heart goes out to them. And I would ask, any player that has left or any player that would ever consider leaving, have you ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour?
I mean, do you have to apologize today for joining with the LIV Tour? Do you have to apologize to the 9/11 families who have already put out a statement they are clearly not happy? Do
you think that Monahan's going to stay? I assume this was part of a cash out because he can't stay with that stuff out there, right? He's going to be booed. He's going to make Roger Goodell look popular.
Yeah, right. Gary Bettman. Nothing Goodell Bettman. I mean, they don't have this kind of stuff hanging over them.
I assumed his life has to be short there. I would think. I read this. I'm like, oh, he's leaving, obviously, because nobody could say that.
There's no credibility.
Yeah, you have no credibility in the public, and you'll just be laughed at forever.
Well, essentially, if he does leave, and we're going to talk to a couple of our friends who cover golf coming up later on in the show, but if he does leave, then the person who gets installed in his place, are they just now a puppet of Liv? Like, are they now just a figurehead for the Saudi public investment fund and whatever they want to do with the game? Because think about this. You read the details of what's going on with this merger. It's not just that they're, going to be joining forces, but the Saudi Royal Investment Fund is also going to become like the #1 corporate sponsor for the PGA and for this. So get ready for all of your Saudi tourism commercials, or I don't know how that's going to manifest itself, but they're now the #1 corporate partner as well.
Right, and there'll be a board of directors that's headed by Saudi, right? So they own the PGA now, right?
It's the merger. So
right.
I don't know
the
how
board
it
of
breaks
directors
down,
for the new for-profit entity will be chaired by Yasir Al Rumayman, the governor of the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. So yeah,
it's theirs.
Yeah. So I assume Jay Monahan's been at least marginalized. If I were him, I would walk away because I think he's got some unsightly things coming his way.
You want to hear a little from Jay Monahan from today about, listen to why the merger with Liv.
We've recognized that together we can have a far greater impact on this game than we can working apart. And I give Yasser great credit for coming to the table, coming to the discussions with an open heart and an open mind. We did the same, and the game of golf is better for what we've done here today.
Wow. Now it's an open heart and open mind. A month ago, it was dirty money. I mean, you can't spin faster on this.
It is impressive. I mean, this guy should run my company. I mean, he is.
Run for office.
He's got. I was about to say, has Jay Monahan thought about stepping down and running for president? Because he's got all the skills. Just to be able to turn that fast, that's a skill. To be that empty.
Is he doing it well, though? See, this is the other part of.
You just called him empty. I love it.
This is the other part. He's an empty suit, clear. Here's the other part about this that is kind of fascinating to me, and I know the answer, guys. I know the answer is money, but still, can I pose the question, which is Liv wasn't even working. That's the most fascinating part about, well, it's not the most, but one of the most fascinating parts about this. The viewership was so scant that they stopped releasing the TV ratings. Just news flash about show business. When the ratings are great, they can't wait to release them. They stopped releasing the ratings. They were on the CW.
Liv is on TV. I thought they paid to go on the CW.
I don't know what the relationship is about who pays who, but I know that it's not some blockbuster deal. It's not like what YouTube TV is playing the NFL to get Sunday Ticket. That's for sure. And Liv, I don't even think the team aspect to it and all the changes that they made, it wasn't working. Nobody cared. It was still exhibition. And so the fact they let the Liv golfers do the major, play in the majors, you just saw Brooks Koepka win the Masters. There was no penalty really for joining Liv, it felt. And so maybe that meant it was only a matter of time. Yeah. Now, we know that Tiger Woods was offered $700 to $800 million to join Liv. He's someone who actually doesn't need the money.
But a lot of these guys don't need the money.
But say you're a guy who's not making Tiger Woods type money, and there could have been that offer out there for you.
Okay, I got into this.
You don't take the offer, and now the league itself took the offer.
I get into this fight a lot on today on Twitter. I tweeted out that, tell me if you totally disagree with this. Golfers make a ton of money. Like the top 5,000 golfers. The top 500 golfers all make a very good living.
Yeah.
So, and also, too, their careers last forever. There's no injury risk at all. So why do they need Saudi money? Like, I could see an NFL player who's got 4 years before his head explodes.
Yeah.
He needs Saudi money. But the golfers, some of these guys, like Rory, doesn't need Saudi money. He's got enough money that he could spend over 5 lifetimes.
Rory was a big detractor. Remember, he was very outspoken. He and Tiger were at the forefront of not wanting to go to Liv and not wanting to break up golf.
Well, then I put that out, and everyone's like, well, you don't know anything about golf. These guys are all scrabbling for money. And there's so many guys who made over $1 million in just earnings this year. That doesn't count all those hats they wear with all the sponsorships and the fact that they're professional golfers. You know, most of us work really hard so we could go play golf. That's all they do. And you don't think, like, and worst comes to worst, is go be like the best pro that ever lived. Like, oh, that guy won the Valero Open. You can charge whatever you want. Your life is set. It's not like these golfers want for anything.
Yeah, I think it's a range, right? It's clearly like the Tiger Woods and the Rorys are in one part of it. And I do think there are guys like who sleep on couches and have to sleep in people's homes and stuff like that as they're trying to get up into the ranks.
Yeah,
now, those guys probably weren't getting $100 million offers from Liv anyway, but they might have gotten a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of golf fans are like, you don't know anything. You don't know how hard these guys work. But then I see like the average golfers making, like Vardy made $3 million this year, and just tournament earnings, not all the sponsorships too. And you're playing golf. I'm sorry. I mean, you're traveling the world. You're not paying for a darn thing. I just don't believe once you get through Q school, you have a lot of opportunities to make a lot of money. So I'm not worried. I'm just saying golf, like, does golf really need that Saudi money? Do these guys really need this money?
I think that...
No one turns down money. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's far for us to say, right?
Yeah.
It's like how much money is enough? Well, that's up to each individual person. So I think there were legitimate things that needed to change in golf, and that's what people like Phil Mickelson tried to hide behind, or not hide behind, try to espouse. You know, we really need changes. This is the time to do it. You know, we have a legitimate, chance to make changes to golf. And that always felt a little weird because it's like, no, it's actually about the money. But now we're going to see what are these great changes that are going to come. What the Phil Mickelson saying, I know that these guys are bad dudes, meaning the Saudis, because what they did to Jamal Khashoggi, their record on human rights abuses, record on, women, homosexuality, all these things, right, doesn't align generally with what we enjoy here in the United States. And so we're going to find out now, what was it? Was it all worth it? What are these changes? Is this going to be any better for the viewer? Is this going to make me and Perloff sit down and watch a random PGA Tour event that's not a major?
John Deere Classic?
Sure.
No, well, the other thing, too, is will Liv try and get its greedy little hands into the majors. That's being speculated about a little bit.
They're hand them everything. I mean, I'm not surrendering here, but funny. Of course they are.
I feel like very casual fans only really care about the Masters, U.S. Open, PGA, and the British Open Championship. I'm not sure. Yeah, if those tournaments, the four majors stayed as they were, our experience as golf fans might be kind of similar.
I think my question is, how much bigger does this get than golf? I mean, we see in soccer, obviously, Middle Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia specifically, paying. It's Messi and Ronaldo are both there, right?
Not Messi yet, but they are rumored to be going after him.
Right. So Ronaldo's already there. We know that there is a Formula One race that's there, right? WWE has held multiple shows in Riyadh or in Saudi Arabia. What's the next? Like, is there one of the four majors in this country? Basketball, remember, in their new CBA, changed one of the bylaws that you now can have, like, I forgot the word they use, like a collective can now own a team.
Yeah, I would think NBA would be because they're very internationally oriented. And I think NFL football is in such a position of strength right now that they don't need to take any foreign money.
But think about it. What if instead of the Harris Blitzer Group, it was the Royal, Public Investment Fund bought the Commanders?
Well, I don't think the NFL would need those outside bids. I think they get plenty of money from American bids. And also, too, they picked the bid they liked. For example, David Tepper bought the Panthers for $2 billion, I believe.
Yeah.
I think they turned down 2.7 from Tillman Fertitta because they just didn't think it was as good a deal. So I don't think the NFL needs that money. I mean, look, they just got the Walmart guys in there. They have enough money for anybody. NBA is not as strong right now. So I think
NBA is expanding.
Yeah,
Adam Silver said eventually.
Yeah, NBA will definitely dip into that money. I would be shocked if they didn't. MLB as well, by the way. I mean, these rights fees, who knows what the future of that sport is. Although that feels weird, right? The all-American sport, baseball, being owned by rich foreign owners, that feels a little
Well, the
off.
Mariners are owned by a Japanese company, but obviously the relationship between the U.S. and Japan has been much better lately than it has between U.S. and Saudi Arabia.